An International Water Management Institute conducted a workshop, CGIA, in the new Research and Development Program NEXUS Gains for the Aral Sea Basin, realizing multiple benefits across water, energy, food, and ecosystem. The event participants talk about reaching a common ground and understanding and finding solutions to the challenges facing water, energy, food, and ecosystem transformation while exploring how the system's transformation for the equitable food, energy, and water security in Central Asia can be tackled. Chairman of the Senate Committee on the Agriculture and Water Management, Bahadur Tajiyev, opened the event with his speech. Currently, there is a dramatic shortage of water supply for agricultural sector in Central Asia. In this regard, the Aral Sea Basin undergoes the hardest consequences and is in need of urgent action. It is highly important to ensure that water, energy, and food nexus is included in the research areas of the government strategy. To help identify synergies and trade-offs across the interconnected systems, NEXUS Gains will co-develop and share tools, guidelines, training and facilities, integrated system analysis, and research for development. This novel approach will strengthen climate, resilience, and lead to tangible benefits for rural men and women living in Central Asia.
Considering all these different sectors and resources together, you can achieve greater benefits. That means, like at a local level, greater incomes, greater resilience to things like climate change. So as there's different levels of rainfall every year, there's drought sometimes. By looking at integration, you can find ways to mitigate that or to reduce some of the adverse impacts. So that's what this is about. So we're launching this new initiative. It's going to run in principle for 10 years. In several different regions, roughly 4 regions of the world. Aral Sea is one of those regions. But basically it's a 10-year program, but we're working, the first tranche or the first set package of work will be for 3 years. Starts in 22, ends at the end of 24.
And we're trying to understand how we can use water and land resources efficiently and scale innovative solutions to provide a benefit for the region. We're trying to include multiple actors from the private, the public, and the government sector to enable an inclusive approach, and we try to create benefits for farmers and communities, and also we have a strong focus on gender equality and social inclusion. We're trying to identify innovations that we can leverage in cooperation with government sector initiatives that can create more resilience and efficiency in the extended agricultural ecosystem in Central Asia.
After the event, we have talked with the regional representatives of IWMI in the Central Asia, Dr. Mohsin Hafiz, about the Aral Sea disaster and what contribution does the organization have on this matter.
Hello, Dr. Mohsin Hafiz. Welcome to the interview. Thank you for approaching some time to our interview. You've been working at the International Water Management Institute for quite a long time. Can you tell about the concept of the organization and what does it do in Uzbekistan?
Thank you, Camila. International Water Management Institute is a research for development organization working in more than 13 countries around the globe. Vision is basically water secure world, and our mission is basically how we will develop different sustainable land and water management solutions that could improve the livelihood and then the socio-economic of the people working in the agriculture sector as well as in the urban context. So IWMI has been working in Central Asia since 2001, and over the last 21 years we have provided a lot of evidence-based information as well as technological solutions as well as some of the business models that help in country to improve the water productivity of irrigated agriculture as well as to deal with the climate change issues and to have basically the livelihood of improving the livelihood of the poor people who are working in the agriculture sector, as the Uzbekistan country is dependent on the agriculture sector. So we are helping to provide practical solutions which could transform the agriculture water management to be more profitable and improving the livelihood. Uzbekistan, the country, have own resources are very little. The water is coming from the neighboring countries, and how much water is available, that's around 90% of water is used for irrigated agriculture. And the irrigation system has been built in the Russian time, and that system has so many complex challenges. The system was built for the whole Central Asia, And now the Uzbekistan country is dependent only on the amount of water which is coming into the system. And then as the competing water demand for the industry, competing water demand for the environment and for other sectors are there. So what that means that we need to, population is increasing. On the top, the climate change is one of the major factors that has reduced the water availability coming into this region. And particularly the upper part of the riparian countries, they are producing a lot of irrigated agriculture now. And then that means that they are using a lot of water. So that less water is available, and we need to work around on that one. How we could optimize that the water sources, optimize with the technology and to improve the productivity. Just to give you certain numbers, agriculture sector is around, in Uzbekistan is using 90% of water, around 4.3 million hectare area. And out of the 4.3 million hectare area, 60% of water is used through the lift pumping system. And that the pumping system has their own, it's quite outdated, the pumping system that has a lot of the energy challenges, and as well as leading towards some of the water management challenges towards when majority of the area used to be on a flood irrigation, and it used to be the cotton crop, and now the things are changing over a period of time.
Now let's talk about the water food energy nexus. What is this concept about?
Okay, in the water energy food nexus is a concept when we are typically, it's all these sectors, water, energy and food, basically all are interdependent. And when we are talking about the interdependency, so we need to look around the systematic approach. Particularly, there are some examples which we have been working in the Central Asia. One example is just to give you that in Amu Kashka Darya river basin, where IWMI was working in 2017-18, that majority of the water is pumped from there, the groundwater, from the Amu Darya and Siri Darya river basin, and that water is used for irrigation. On one hand side, the government is giving a subsidy to wells, around 20% of that the energy, the total energy production in Uzbekistan is used for that the wells for pumping. And government is spending around $425 to $450 million on energy subsidy. But when that water is pumped, and then there is a lot of wastage into the system that's going, creating a waterlogging, salinity, the return flow and all those problems. Through IWMI study into that one, we will look around that one, how much is that the greenhouse gas emission produced by the wells. Also looking around that one, if we introduce certain technology and how that will be beneficial, the technology could be leading towards the water saving. And then looking around the complex pictures of the water system, and the ecosystem, and as well as water energy food nexus, the finding was there that if you go for a technological solution, then that could help in reducing the amount of water, as well as reducing the emission which is there, and how that could be helpful into one way or the other way, putting a bit more comprehensive pictures, so that you are not looking around the one sector, but integrated picture, how the optimization of the water sources could be done with a more efficient, with a more cleaner energy, and ultimately improving the ecosystem.
What are you working at the moment? On what projects are you working at the moment in Uzbekistan, like currently?
Okay, at the moment we are doing working on a couple of projects. I believe we have 7 projects which we are working. The first project is is about the Aral, which we are looking around in the Aral Sea region in Karakal, Pakistan, and Horizon region, where we are introducing, basically looking around how the technology could help to improve the water productivity of irrigated agriculture, as well as developing evidence-based information in the area which is affected, and developing a decision support tool where we are utilizing a lot of remote sensing tools and technology to provide evidence-based information for the whole system level. As well as we also looking around some of the analysis and doing that one, what's the potential of solar suitability, solar irrigation in the area, and if you will go on the solar irrigation, how that will be impacting on that the groundwater sustainability and everything. So that's one of the projects which we are working on in the Aral Sea. Other project is which we are working on that again on the water saving, especially for the cotton crop. And cotton crop is that okay, you could go for transferring to that the water saving from flood to the drip sprinkler system. But then it is important is that one how you will optimize the water availability for the whole system, and what kind of the decision support tools or the irrigation scheduling that could help to the farmers when to irrigate the water and how much to irrigate the water, and also guiding to the farmers on water accounting. If the farmers know that how much water they are using it and how the water is used, they will be able to optimize the water and basically put some measures and put certain things to reduce the water, to reduce the water in the agriculture, in the irrigated area. So that's the second project which we are working. So all these projects will be helpful to transform these systematic approach and then providing us a much more evidence-based information.
So what do you think is the global impact on the Aral Sea disaster?
Okay, that the Aral Sea disaster, it has a huge impact not only in Uzbekistan but also in the regional and as well as towards the global. Because in late 60s, the Russian developed a system where they were only thinking about we need to produce more cotton, and then they diverted all the water for the irrigation sector to produce the cotton. And they forget about the systematic approach that because the cotton irrigation was in the upper part and then the water which was going to the Aral Sea, they reduced that one. When they started reducing and then as there was no systematic approach, it was a sectoral approach, then the less and less water available and that reducing to the Aral Sea catastrophe. What that means that less water was available, all the fishing area, the farmers who were working there, that they're gone, the industry collapsed there. But it has a huge environmental consequences, that the health of the peoples living there, that has impacted, the whole environment has changed and also created all the health problems into the region, and then that becomes a huge catastrophe. So I think it has not impacted only on the local level, but it has provided us that insight that we need to always look around the more systematic approach to overcome on that one, because the disaster, it took 20 years to these things, because they started reducing the less and less, started reducing the water to the region. But over the last 20 years, we have been working in the region and along with many international donors, but still it's far off that we are not able to restore that the ecosystem. And what's even at the moment the people are facing that the health problems are there, the whole industry has been collapsed there, the fishing, all that one, then the environment is damaged there. On the top of that one, that the flora and fauna which were there, all those are there. I think that provides us we need to think about when we are at the country level, at the system level, at the holistic approach, we are looking around that, okay, when you are making the intervention in one area, how that will be impacting on the other areas there, and what will be the consequences. So that's where that the NEXUS Gain, which is a CGIA initiative, that will provide us a bit more insight and saying that we are not looking only one, but how the overall the intervention would help in restoring the Aral Sea Basin, and saying it what are the steps which we need to take it to basically restore the Aral Sea Basin, and also not only by IWMI but also the other players who are working around in the region, and saying it how collectively we could work around to overcome that the Aral Sea disaster which has happened, and maybe in 10 years down the track or 20 years down the track we are able to minimize those damages, environmental damages, and helping towards restoring the ecosystem.
Recently, our president, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, has visited the Aral Sea area. He saw that a lot of researches are being done, planting is being done, and they're about to build up the program, 5-year program, which will return the life of Aral Sea. Do you think it's possible, referring to all the projects and researches you have done so far?
Yeah, I think one of the things which I am really pleased to share that when the Uzbekistan, the government is really thinking about the more comprehensive, more at systematic level approach. And then I think one of the intervention which IWMI is also doing it, because there are many players who are working on the Aral Sea. Now this is the government, one of the government plan is that the president, honorable president mentioned, is basically looking around the different intervention which has been already done into this region, and then develop some of the policy actions, some of the strategy there, and then saying it actionable roadmap that could say, okay, what are the steps which need to be done, so that when any ex-agency is working and how those could be transformed towards the policy action, towards the government will make some measures on the policy changes, and that's where, yes, that's possible. One of the example which I just want to mention it, that when we were working in Kashka Darya River Basin, the transformation, we talked about the energy saving into the, and then more water is available for that, the agriculture, and then we could also do the water saving. The government is very open and very transparent. They want to look around that one, how they could improve that the productivity of the irrigated agriculture, and then how transformation the policy. Based on the findings which IWMI researchers shared, and then we shared those findings with the government, and government had a series of meetings, and they said, oh no, that's really good way. And they picked up the one, and in 2020 there was a presidential decree resolution was announced, and we said, okay, instead of giving a subsidy to that one, is reducing a certain subsidy from that, the electricity pumping from the electricity from the pumping system, and how that water could be, how much that subsidy could be given to the water saving, and introducing the technology. Under the technology, they said if you will be, they put a target of 250,000 hectare area could be introduced with the drip irrigation system, and then that was in 2020. But in 2021 they revised that one. They said no, that's really beneficial, and then thinking about systematic approach, and now the aspirational target is 450,000 hectare. So based on these evidences and the proven in the last 2 years, I am quite hopeful that that the government intervention would help to restore the ecosystem of the Aral Sea. It may not be in a 5 years time, maybe, but that's the first step toward taking a right step towards that journey, and that will help us to overcome the complex issues, and then that provide us more practical solutions which are beneficial for that the local farmers, local communities there in living in the Aral Sea.
Thank you so much for giving us the interview, and also thank you for working on some certain projects to work on the Aral Sea area. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.